spoke about yesterday, here at Roots we have a specific language that we have, so I wanted to just kind of run through it just so you guys have a better idea of what I'm talking about as we go through the game model. Here we see the field with 4 zones, so zone 1, 2, 3, 4 instead of thirds. We have 5 vertical channels, and obviously here we have zones with the channels. Now, zone 1 is build up with the goalkeeper involved. Zone 2 is build up sometimes with the keeper, but it doesn't have to be. And then zone 3, creating, and zone 4, scoring. That's in the attacking phase or attacking moment. And then we use scenes. Now, scenes here, this is a very important. We use it a lot. It helps us really communicate with players clearly. Scene 1 is the space between the opponent forward line and our goalkeeper. Scene 2 is between the space between the midfield and forward line. 3 is between the defensive line and the midfield. And then scene 4 is between the opponent goalkeeper and the back line. For today's game, we're playing Valley FC, and they're in first place. We're in second place. The outcome of it won't matter at the table. They're regular season champions, and we're second place. And today's roster is a little bit of a mixed roster. We have a lot of youngsters coming in today, and some of the guys who are getting more playing time. So that just gives you a little bit of a reference on what the game is today. We expect now in this league it's difficult to know what the opponent's going to bring, but we think that they're going to play a 5-2-3-1. That's with the goalkeeper included. But for you old-fashioned people, it's 1-4-2-3-1. So for us, it's 4-4-2-1 or a 1-3-4-2-1. I'm sharing 2 moments where I think it's going to be key to the game. Our build-up in zone 1, we build up in a particular manner where we have 6 outfield players and plus the keeper. We do it just so we can have numerical advantage in zone 1, and that will give us. We try to split the opponent in 2, and that way we can be man-to-man with the back line. So you'll be able to see this as the game progresses. I think if we're able to do this, we'll be able to have a lot of possession. And then here in build-up, once we're in zone 2 in open build-up, we try to again create numerical advantage, and we try to play through the press. We like to invite the press, so you'll also see that we have a lot of combinations in small spaces. And then trying to find those interiors in scene 3. To us, scene 3 is extremely important. It's what we're looking for. Scene 2 is kind of like that build-up part of it, but scene 3, if we're able to get into scene 3, that way, give the opponent that line decisions to make. So do they step to our interiors? Do they hold? If they step, do they create spaces behind? And if they don't step, then we can receive and then turn and then go out. So I think this is going to be key for us. We should be able to have the ball out there in this game. So if we're able to do this, I think we'll be successful today. Now, a key moment is our defensive transition. So our transition to defense, we always try to win the ball back as quickly as possible. If we're not able to win the ball as quickly as possible, we're trying to force them, delay them, force them wide, and keep up to one side. But we're a team that we understand that the way that we are set up, trying to build through the zones, we expose ourselves to the counters, so just making sure that we are turned on to the transition. So hopefully, again, this is a key moment for us. And then the other key moment, which will be in attack 3-4 or zone 3-4, is we try to create a numerical advantage and also numerical or an advantage in quality and positionally in the center channel. So as you can see here, we try to force the opponent to either bring pressure towards the middle, which then will create 1v1s on the wide channels, which we have good players in the wide channels, so that way we can exploit that on a qualitative advantage. If they start to try to negate that, then they'll open up, which then will penetrate essentially, and that way we can create those combinations with our interiors and our nines, and that way try to split them in, split their back line and create goal scoring opportunities that way. One of the things that we need to improve a little bit is being patient. So sometimes when we do penetrate, we tend to rush things because we see that advantage, but sometimes it's not there and we'll still try to go. So we just got to be patient and then move the ball, look to create more advantages. So that's something to look out for today. And then in the transition again, it's the same thing. We're trying to win the ball as quickly as possible. We always are trying to close the space centrally and towards the ball. That way we don't give up spaces in between the lines or in the seams. But if we're not able to win the ball or if the press is broken, the guys know how to use the field as a reference point to reorganize, get compact, and then from there we'll then continue to try to press and win the ball back. And then just added a couple of set piece. So this is our corner. This is one that we're trying to implement a little bit more. We haven't done this one for a little bit, but it's just kind of a give and go or finding one of the players that is coming in and giving the second ball to the far post. We have good guys who had the ball. We've been successful in a corner kick, so I think it's going to be fun to see how it goes today. And then this is how we defend our corner kicks. We have two zonal players on the 6, and then we have the rest are man-to-man, and then we keep 3 guys outside the box trying to go for the counter. But yeah, I think that's it. Hopefully you guys are able to see this on the field. Hopefully it pans out and we come out with a win today.
You mentioned starting formation. I'm curious what formation you drop back into in defense.
Check, 1, 2, okay. John, non si chiama adesso basta, vai. Ok. Did you hear the question? Okay.
Yeah, for this particular game, we'll defend it on 3-5-2. So because they have 2 pivots, I like to have one of our attacking midfielders pick up one of the pivots. So we'll defend it at 3-5-2 for today. Anything else? So in this league, this is the 10th game that we played, where we lost twice in this league, and we're also playing in USL 2, which is why the roster for today is a little bit of a mixed roster, because we played a game on Thursday for USL 2 against Davis, and then tomorrow we play for USL 2 against San Francisco. We're doing well there also. We're second place and we lost once. So the boys are doing well. They're understanding our game model, and I think they enjoy the way that we play. So I'm happy with the guys. We've been able to incorporate a lot of young guys. We have a lot of old 5s. We have 7. We have 6. The majority of our players are young. We have a couple already going to train in the first team, which is the main reason why we have the program. One of them already made the roster for a game. I was hoping that he was able to make his
You said today you will defend at 3-5-2. Is it normally what formation you defend in?
No. So one thing that we try to do with these guys is we try to implement different types of systems. So we usually, at least in the attack, we have our set principles. So the attack, we might change in a 4-2-4 or a 3-4-2-1 or a 3-4-3. But defending, we've done more variations to it. We defended in a 4-4-2, in a 4-2-3-1, we defended in a 3-5-2, in a 3-4-3. That way the guys are able to be more competitive and go into the first team. And if they're asked to defend in a certain manner, especially our first team does change formations a little bit, especially very fluid during the game. So that way when they go to the first team, they're able to adapt quickly because they've seen it already. So yes, we try to defend a little bit more than the attack. With the attack, we're pretty set on 3 systems, but in defense, we've done a little bit more. I expect us to have a lot of possession. We usually have a lot of possession. We haven't become a team yet that has been able to take the ball away from us for longer periods of time. I think one of the areas that we do need to improve on is like I said, we have a lot of possession. We are very good in zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. But finalizing that possession into actual goals is where we need to go a little bit better. So in zone 4, having better runs, having more of a desire, having more of an intent to score goals is what I think we've been focusing on in the last couple of days. So hopefully that continues to be the case as in session. Hopefully we get to score a little bit more goals.
Any other questions?
Sounds good. Thank you guys. Good.
I think in shouting too much yesterday. Only I know the elder shout at all. But things like this sometimes happen. Okay, so I think that what I'm going to do is to explain to you a little bit about how we look at analyzing. Having done that, you can also really see what a coach did touch on and he didn't touch on. Okay, and I waited for your guys' questions. Yeah. Okay. So we can see what he touched on, yes or no. I am a little bit like a freak in making sure that I tick all the boxes. That had to do that when I was studying, I lost, or the teacher always lost me. And they never got me back in the rhythm again. So the first 2 months of my school, high school and elementary school, I was fantastic. And after that I had to cheat, to go over to the next class. And actually, it was over when I went and studied my master's degree. Because then I really needed to be updated on everything what happened. So what I do is also when I teach, I make sure that you have kind of a checklist. That as a coach, that you know, wow, in the beginning I need to touch and tick all these boxes. And in the beginning you think about it, you are very conscious about it. But the next step is that You just do it because it becomes part of you. And at the moment you are that far, you almost never forget a part that is important for your preparation of the game or the practice or whatever it is. You know what you do and you know how you do it. When I look at the coach, it was clear that they have he spoke about some references. But it's up to you if it was clear. He spoke about zones. He spoke about seams, which was pretty important. Then he insulted you guys. If I do that, you kill me by being an old-fashioned coach. Okay, so in his team organization, immediately he came up with the goal player integrated in the back four. But the funny thing is, when he started to talk about the different systems after, he forgot about the goal player again. And nobody of you dared to say to him, hey, do you play with 10? Did you see that or not? And I'm a freak, so, about that, about these, anything. So what I want to do with you guys, I run you through some basically universal languages, what I did already yesterday. And I will also make sure that you get this in a PDF, so you can study it. It doesn't mean that you immediately know how to integrate it, but at least you can start thinking about it. So, this was the pre-information, and he gave me like 10 minutes more, which is nice. He gave us pre-information about the game. For you coaches, I think it should be good to always prepare yourself on the next session. You are here, you spend a lot of time. I admire you guys for that, sitting there, standing on the side, and trying to get as much information as you can. Try to prepare yourself on, hey, he's going to tell some things about the game. What is the structure, how he's going to do that? What questions can I tell him or ask him? What I want to do is I want to give you some things to think about and a little bit of direction where to look at. So when we go and look at the game, we don't look as a spectator. When we look as a coach, we get the information and we see if it works out as well. Because you know something about what he wants. I saw that he had also the goal kick, which was the building up from the back. He already had that with certain lines. If you guys see that, what is the first thing that comes up in your mind? You make a decision for them, correct? So is this going to happen really? Is this exactly? And what happens if the opponent is standing there in line of the pass? So that's interesting. And that also has to do with how you think about the game and how you think how you should educate your players. Okay? So, nevertheless, try to prepare yourself and I try to help you in that for when we go and look at the game. So, I give you some references, and you know them probably already. So, that was the question. This is basically what I always do. Okay, this is in a small part. I do that for yesterday, I do that for today, I do that for tomorrow. So I say, hey, what is the aim? How do we try to reach it? And what is basically the program that we are going to do? So you see my program now. I give you some theory. Based on that, you have some questions, and then explanation. Eventual on the practice, because I want to mix it up with what do they want to do? Do you think it's good or not good? And if it's not the way you want it, what are you going to do in the practice? How are you going to improve it? That's why I asked him, how many games did you play already? So if you have played 10 games, you are already 10 games on the way. Do you have periodization? Do you work on something throughout the week? Yes or no? And it's already 10 games, in this competition. Anyway, so this is for tomorrow. Robo changed it. He wants you earlier out of your bed, and he wants to have you here not at 8:30, but at 8:15. I didn't change it, eh? So all the complaints to Robo. But then we have 45 minutes at least to have a little bit of discussion, listen to the feedback of the coach, ask him certain questions that hopefully you come up with after this part of analysis. Okay? And of course, after that, we are going to the set pieces. The most boring thing there is. Because if you are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, you don't go and play football because I love it, because we have set pieces. I can throw the ball in and I can give a corner kick. No one child is safe. No one. You go to play. And now the ball is out of the game and I have to do something. Anyway, I will make it fun tomorrow. Definitely. And if not, it's you, not me. Okay? So that's tomorrow, and there we go. Game analysis. Analysis of the game. First of all, it's always about the team, the set pieces, and then you can go to the individual game. I will mention some of these things. The team. Aim of the analysis. It's so important that you know why you analyze. I basically should be now in Istanbul with a technical committee to analyze the game of today. You know, we are there with the committee, we analyze it, we look for new trends of the whole Champions League run this year. And so the aim then is, we try to make a technical report based on the experiences that we have and based on what is happening in the game nowadays that is different than last year or the year before. So for you guys, whatever you analyze, it's always important, what is the aim? Why do I analyze? So it could be that you analyze your own team. And take my word, I started 2 years ago to analyze the UEFA, and we have to analyze both teams, which is very different. Very different. Okay, and if you do both teams, you don't see everything, it's impossible. But you need to train and to practice yourself to become better. Some of them are natural, but most of them we have to practice. And when we have the meetings, they all say, wow, 2 teams at the same time. Yeah, you can do that, but it's superficial. But what if you want to do it intense? That's why when we were at the World Cup sitting at the bench, Louis was overseeing everything. After our sheet start and look very clearly what the opponent is doing, and then more about what we did, and we were like, and I did all the set plays, and then we were discussing that. So even at that top level, we try to define the tasks. Because you're sitting there with 4 on the bench, why all look at the same? Why not look at different things, and then it comes together? Anyway, your own team, or you are going to analyze the opponent. Then it's a completely different way of looking at it. It was interesting for you guys because somebody asked something about the system, team organization. Who was that? Somebody asked me. Good question. What I would have asked is, can you put on the board their system, team organization, and our team organization? And where do you see weak points, strong points, and whatever it is? Because it's not your team organization, it's the team organization of the opponent that made things happen, yes or no? Who was yesterday when we did the warm-up with the goal play? And we did the building up from the back? You guys, all of you saw that I changed one thing with the opponent, putting pressure, and they lost the ball 2 times. They had no answer. So the moment the opponent is doing something else, you need to have an answer. You need to know how to solve it. And that's what I want to hear always from coaches before we start. Because that's for us important, because if we play against the 1-4-3-3 or the 1-3-4-3, it's different. You saw yesterday the game analysis of us against the US. And I told you, the guys on the outside are always free. Always. And I tell you, if the US had done the practice that we did yesterday, and make sure, for example, in the finishing phase, the cross back, and then make sure the penalty box is always covered, we don't score that. And now you score because of that. Why? They could predict it. They could predict how we try to play, how we try to score, how we try to win. And that's interesting for you guys as well. I know it's the next level. But even for you guys sometimes it's good to know, hey, I play against this team organization, with my team organization, what is strong, what is weak, and it always depends, of course, on the players. Scouting players. You heard yesterday that, we scouted the players, 60 with scouts. It's analyzing football actions in relationship, in a context with the rest of the team. It's something completely different because you can focus on 1, 2, or maybe 3 players instead of on the whole team. Not easy. Not easy at all. And you need to learn that. And you need to practice that. And you need to get feedback. Because that's the only way how you become better. So don't think, okay, I do it, I analyze, blah, blah. No, it's very difficult, but it is the base of everything we do. It could be study teams, what we did in the Euros, for example, or what we do in the Champions League. We try to study the teams and then make conclusions. We put it in a big platform with all kinds of game moments and that kind of interesting stuff. But that can be an aim. It can also be because of education, what you guys do today and yesterday here. So it's purely education. But it's clear it's a completely different analysis than when you analyze your team, than when you analyze your club. And that's why I also asked the 10, because is there progress? And I know in the second team, you don't always have the same players. And they come in and they come out. Okay, how do you solve it? Because you guys have the same. And you guys can, I understand you can switch the players the whole game all the time. So how do you solve that? For us with 5 players that we could change and 6 in extra time, it changes the game completely. Completely. So as a coach, you need to know, wow, what can I do with it? What kind of advantages do I have? Yes or no? Interesting. And always look upon it as a challenge. It's never a problem, it's a challenge. It's nice. Wow, how do they do that? What can we do? How do they do it? What do we? Etc. It's nice. And there can be other reasons. I always put this in. Because there can always be another reason that I don't know. Sometimes you give them, for example, a mark for the newspaper. Then you analyze also the game, so there are different other things as well. Having said that, how are we going to analyze? I always come back to the universal, to the structure. Always. So, I spoke with you about this. You need to have exactly the same references. Okay? So, having said that, we don't want that it is subjective. We don't want that it is opinion-based, I think, I know, my experience, I believe, my feelings. All the analysts in television do this. My experience, my feeling. I played 6 Champions League finals. So who are you to say it's based on that? Okay, sometimes it's fun, it's nice, it's comfortable to hear. But as a coach, do you really get information that helps you, that brings you further, that they're really going to the depth, more pressure, higher pressure, whatever it is? Question to you guys. How is the Roots going to defend today? Say it again. 3-5-2, you mean 1-3-5-2? But a part of that, where are they going to defend? High up, in the middle, in the back, are they compact, whatever? Did you hear it? Nobody asks. How do they do the transition to attack? Anybody hear that? Did anybody ask that? He didn't say anything about it. He spoke about attacking, building up. Then he spoke about transition to defending. Then he again talked about attacking. Then again he talked about transition to defending. Do you have that clear? I always make a few notes, because I have my structure, and he does. Okay. Corner kicks. What about the free kicks? What about the throw-ins? What about the kickoff? Nobody asks 10 game in the situation. Did you practice it? You practice clearly the corner kick. It's how they want to attack. It's clearly how they want to defend. Correct? But the free kicks we didn't hear. The throw-ins we didn't hear. So this is interesting. If you have that list in your head, what happens? And how does it happen? And again, this is no critic. This is process. This is structure. Okay? So, we don't want misunderstandings and misinterpretations. Okay? We want that as little as possible. We don't want multiple interpretations. Anyway, what we do want is simple, clear, objective, ideal. It speaks for itself. Common terminology. Universal understanding. It doesn't matter if we are here, in Africa, in Sweden, in Holland, or whatever in the world. It should be all clear. And it doesn't matter what level it is. Boys, girls, high, low, whatever. Okay? So, there we go. We always look at the total game. And from the game, we go into the unit, and we go into the game of individual goal play. You saw he divided the pitch here, because they do have references clear. They had zones, and they also divided the pitch. Does anybody can tell me why they divided the pitch like this? Because Pep does it, he says. I don't know. But, I mean, there is an idea, but it's not so easy to explain that in a very short time. It's not easy. Okay? But they did it. Okay. The game. Translating into the words. Team functions. If you have in your mind, we attack, we defend, transition to attack, transition to defend. Boom. So when you have a meeting, and you have a meeting before the game, or even in practice, you have to touch on all of them. Because there's no game where there's no transition. There's no game where you don't need to defend. There's no game where you don't attack. Correct? Okay. Then we have the team task. Okay? So the team task is building up. He spoke about building up. He spoke about creating chances. He basically spoke about finishing. But he didn't speak about disturbing the build-up. He didn't talk clearly about disturbing or, the chances, or how to defend the goal, for example, and transition. He said something about the team organization. So, you need to touch on everything when you have a meeting, because there are moments you build up. There are moments you try to create a chance with a through ball, or 1 versus 1, or a cross. And you hope that you can finish. But on the other side, you also have to disturb the build, etc., etc., etc. So, it all comes back. And then, of course, here, we have the team organization set pieces. And when I do courses, for example, and they know it, and they say, hey, today only attention for the corner kick. We don't have special attention for the free kicks, for the throwings, blah, blah, blah. Then I know, okay, he knows at least all the set pieces, and he leaves it out on purpose, whatever it is. So, this is a very nice checklist, I think. And that's the same in the whole world. Only the last part is what is your way of playing? How do you attack? How do you build up? How do you want to finish? What I showed you guys in the US when we had like the cutbacks. We knew we had a big chance to score goals out of this situation because we analyzed it. And I showed you that. But it's not a guarantee. You never know if that's going to happen, but the chance that it will happen was pretty big. Anyway, if we talk about the way of playing, as a coach, you need to know everything about attacking, you need to know everything about defending, you need to know everything about transition to defending and transition to attacking. You need to have this all very clear in your mind. Very clear. Building up, short or long, there's no other way. So you need to know all the options there are. Okay, having said that, then I go to the individual. And for example, the task of the goal player. But it could be the right wing back. It could be the second forward. It could be the left back, whatever. It could be the midfield. You need to know from every position a profile. What do we expect in all of these moments of the game? question is, do we know that? And if you know that, can you use it in the situation, yes or no? So, where are the goal player coaches here? Please raise your hand. There's a few that doesn't dare to raise their hands anymore. We have, oh, you are also a goal player coach. We are all goal player coaches, of course. But we have some who are even more specialized in goal play. So you guys are going to look, of course, today at the goal player actions in defense, in attack, in transition, in set plays, in open plays. Anyway, you need to know that. Analyzing. You need to have a structure how you analyze. Okay? So we have that for the team, we have that for the football or the goal player action. Okay? And I spoke about it yesterday, how we also used that to try to make that as clear as possible. So I want to use communication, decision making, execution, and the physical part we will see about. But we will see about communication, reading the game, scan the situation, and tactics, decision making, gain insight, solutions, make the right decisions based on the information above. And then we have technique to execute. Xavi, Iniesta. The best in reading the game, communication, the best in decision making. They always turned away the right side, never the wrong side, never. Because they saw everything what happened. Execution, they had no pass over 50 yards. They were all more shorter passes. So in the execution, they were limited because they don't have that long pass. They maybe see it, but they couldn't execute. John didn't see it as good as Xavi and Iniesta, but did have the long pass. And this is how you can look at your players and you can evaluate and you can analyze them. Because some of them are excellent gamers. I read the game better than when I play. Why is that? So you tell me why. Of course, I've seen a million games. Okay? I look at the games in a different way. I learned to play the game. I now play the game. My decision making is better than ever. My execution is horrible. There's no execution fast anymore. Which is normal. But when I started, my execution was fantastic. But the rest was non-existent. So I did the most stupid things. So you also understand, if I talk about goal playing coaching, what are they practicing mainly? What are they practicing mainly? Execution. And then they even are lazy. If I look at most of the goal players, they are not standing at the right moment. They are not set at the right moment. They don't move if the ball is moving. They are too late. And they practice it all the time. Because how many shots do they get from the goalkeeper coach? A lot. And still they don't do the right thing. Why? You have to coach them. And you have to coach them in the situation. Kahn, Schmeichel, they could practice on an island because they were not part of the team and were only keep the ball out of it. But nowadays it's different. And look at what you saw today. You see the Champions League final. You see the influence of the goal players there on both sides. With the ball, without the ball, attacking, defending, transition. Yes or no? So Norm, you have a question. Shall we keep the questions a little bit till the end? You probably have time, so write it down and you get it. It's a good question, by the way. They didn't hear it, but I did. And I don't have an answer, so I need time to come up with an answer. You think so? He thinks I have the answer. If I don't have the answer, I say, sorry, I don't have the answer. Coaches, it's very important that you never say that you don't have an answer. We don't have an answer on everything. But we think as a coach you need to have an answer on everything. No. Just give an answer if you have an answer. If you don't have an answer, you can say, okay, sorry, I don't have an answer now, give me some time. Whatever it is. Anyway. Okay. Then the action, the position, the moment, the direction, and the speed. Well, the goal players' actions, yesterday have been working on them. And we could see the position on the pitch can improve. We could see the position of the body. A lot of them, too much here. And they only do individual practice where they probably are learning that, but they don't do it in the situation. We spoke about the moment of setting themselves, for example. We spoke about the direction, so they did this, but the center of gravity was behind them. And then the speed of the action. So let's see if we can use that in the analysis as well. Okay. Then, analyzing for football action. Another help. If you want to analyze a moment, then you can talk about the 5 W's. You can use that always to make things more specific. You can make it more specific if there is something happening on the pitch. Where on the pitch does it happen? You heard that yesterday I said to the defenders, don't dribble in your own penalty box. Don't dribble them. But if they are on the other side, they can dribble whatever they want. So where things happen is important. What goes wrong? What goes wrong? You have a game plan, you build up from the back, and they dribble. Or they lose the ball. Or the pass is too slow. Or the decision making to where the pass should go is not good enough. So, what goes wrong? Then, who are involved? I showed you yesterday in the build-up, it were like the 4 in the back and the number 6. In attack, it were the 3 up front and the 2 midfield players. Okay? Who are exactly involved at the moment that this happens? Then, when does it happen? Start of the game, end of the game, when they put more pressure, whatever it is. Okay? And of course, which circumstances are there? It could be the role of the opponent. I showed you yesterday. We had one small change, a different way of pressure. And it changes completely. We have to realize the number 6 was not existing at the moment that they did pressure like that. Why? There were 2 players with me, and it was here. How was it in the back? So we had 2 against 1 there, and how was it in the back yesterday when we did the build-up? Number 2. Yeah, and we had also 2 center backs, and we had also the goal player. So it was 5 against 3. It's 5 against 3. And then it was 2 against 1 for them. So the 5 against 3, 2 fingers in your nose, you can play it out. And the number 6, just stay away. Keep the 2 players with you, and here they play 5 against 3. Then I said, you pressure. How the number 6 became important? Because he played 1 versus 1, with a lot of space on both sides. So then you have to search for him, because here it was 5 against 4, and they couldn't deal with that. So they had to play the ball a little bit longer in the midfield and maybe longer. So it's very important what are the circumstances and what is the role of the opponent. Okay. Having said that, always from the team to the unit to the individual player. And it could be the goal player, it could be the player. I give you an example also with a game ball. Till what time do we have, Robert? 45. Okay. I put this in a schedule for you guys. And again, in the beginning, I see some guys that are hopefully already having heard this a few times. But even then, if you heard it a few times, you really have to go into that and study it and make it yourself. It makes you a better coach, 100% sure. Okay. So here, today, we are observing assistance. But we did have pre-information. We did have pre-information. You had all the information that you wanted, because you also could ask questions. If I tell this story now, and the coach is here, would you have different questions? Many different questions. So I did a great job. There's no other way. I did a fantastic job. You know, but the more knowledge you have, the more structured you are, the more questions will raise up. Take my one thing. The more questions you have, the better it is. better and the more you know, the more questions you have. So sometimes life is simple if you don't know so much, so you don't have too many questions and you make it simple. Anyway, so with all the pre-info, here we are. The structure. We are live at the game. Sometimes you look at video, you look at the television, you look at the different camera points, whatever it is. But now we are live in the game. So it will be interesting to see where you guys are located. What is your position on the pitch? And why? And do you think about it, what your position is? And are you sitting down? Are you standing up? Are you standing on the roof of the building here? I don't know. That's up to you. You decide what you do and why. There we go. Describe the moment. Okay? Team function, team task, team organization, open play, team organization, set play. Then, the 5 W's. Then, analyzing from the team to the unit, to the player, to the individual. Then, communication, decision-making, execution, and the physical one. And with the decision-making and the execution, you talk about position, moment, speed, and direction. Still want to be a coach? Yeah, but it doesn't mean that you can work with it. But I hope you will go and study it. Anyway, so, specific assignment with pre-info. So, you guys will have to look specific. And I will ask you guys what you as a group wants to look at specifically. Because if I ask you to analyze every moment in the game, which means, but one moment. If I ask you to do this for all the game moments, it's difficult. So what I want is, we are going to make an assignment and I narrow it down. I will make it easier for you guys so you can really focus on something. But you guys have to tell me what you are focusing on. I have a big surprise for you and a present. Because Robo, the game will be filmed. So you guys will have access to the film when? Half an hour after the game? So you can study the whole night. Like what I did at the World Cup. Then you have a feeling. In 2 days we have another game. You have to be ready. Anyway, so you even can look back at that and you can use that material, to maybe have better questions. Okay? So, I want you to go and look. And I don't pair you up now in groups. You can do that yourself. And then you can discuss it also when you're on the pitch. But you get an assignment, what team function, what team organization, what team task, and what is their intention, because you know that. You know the intention of, we cannot look how they defend because we don't know. We cannot look at transition to attack because we don't know. We can basically only look at the building up and going into the next sequence or zone or whatever it is. Because we don't know the other things. Plus, we can analyze the corner kick defensively and offensively. Correct? Because we have pre-info there. So we will get there. That's why I didn't write down what we are going to analyze, because I wanted to wait what information the coach gave us. And now I can make it, and look, I love it. Now everything I discussed with you guys, you can see I have it here in one sheet. And in this one sheet, we are going to see what we are going to do. Okay, and I will do that after I explain to you another situation. Okay, but this, basically, you can see everything, the checklist. It's like the team functions, the team tasks, the team organization, with set plays, with open plays, and the reference is the way you play. And we did get a reference. Correct? From the beginning. You had a reference to the coach that explained how he wants to play. On the ground. Yeah. You did or not? Okay. So, now the fun part. I I show you now a game mode, and some of you have seen it, so you have to keep your mouth shut. Okay? So I show you a game mode. I show you this once, and everybody can say what you think of this game mode. It's the game Italy against Spain, 2021. And this is a moment out of this game. Okay, check it. Did you see it? Did you also see the goal? Okay. So this is the game mode. Do you want to see it again? Normally you don't have that time. You see it once, you have to make up your mind, you need to know everything. Correct? Not easy. And definitely not when you are sitting like this. This is a completely different picture. This is what I also had to in the World Cup, which makes it a lot more easy. I show it to you again. And then I want to hear what you think of it. And everybody can have their opinion. Okay, what do you think?
Hello? It looked like they worked on this since the goalkeeper get the ball, the left wing just sprint to the half field, and then either the sixth. When the goalkeeper received the ball, the number 11 have no hesitation. He sprinted to the half-field line and expecting to receive the ball either number 6 or the goalkeeper. And then when he received the ball, the next person run behind the back line, and it looked like they know what they expect is.
I concur with my colleague over here. Yeah, the goal player was expecting a transition moment.
By the way, you said goalkeeper. Shall we say, if you say again goalkeeper, it doesn't matter who it is. You pay us a beer tonight, me a Coke, and everybody else is here. Yes? Yes? It's fair, yes.
The striker who received the ball and finished had an idea of how and when he was going to turn inside and shoot. Yeah.
It just looked like they worked on transitioning fast, like a counter attack very fast. That's
They'll look the other way around.
Yeah, it just looks like assistant passes back. Starting with the goal player.
Say it again. Hey, I get a question now. Did I say something what you should say? No, so it's open. He says the center backs fall apart field. This is fantastic. I'm talking 1 hour about analyzing a game, and everybody gives their personal opinion. Is there anybody who says, who do we analyze? Can I analyze both? Can I analyze Spain? Can I analyze Italy? And look at this guy here. How do you know Then they practice on that yes or no. Now I'm a little bit bad to you now. So I still love you, but I'm a little bit bad to you. So how do you know what they do? Have you been part of the coaching team, the coaching staff? So how can you, this is exactly what I said, your personal opinion, your thoughts, your experience, we want to get rid of it. There's nobody that starts to describe the situation. Nobody. There's nobody who says, okay, let's look at Italy, or let's look at Spain. What do you think about Spain, how they defend after the goal player is intercepting the ball? There's nobody who says something about the transition off. It's amazing. So now you get 1 hour, a free kick paid by NorCal, and you just go straight back into your own routine. Why? Because that's how we do it. It's not a criticism, it's the same in the whole world. You just go back to your personal opinion. I think they probably. But there's nobody who says, hey, I step out of the situation and I'm going to analyze this situation as objective as possible. Nobody. I don't want to make you feel bad a little bit because I want to take you out of your comfort zone. But this is the same everybody. So I speak about it, I spoke about it yesterday, I spoke about structures, and you just go back to, and that's logical. It's so logical because it's not in your body yet, it's not in your mind yet. It means you have to change it. If you want to improve, you have to change it. So, here I go. What I'm going to do is I use my references. By coincidence, for UEFA, I'm responsible for Belgium, Italy and Spain, and Andorra. So I have been discussing this afterwards with Spain and with Italy. So I have inside information. The first secret I will tell you, they never worked on transition. Never. Not one day. And everybody in the whole world, if I show this, they say, oh, this is, they know what they do. Now I start analyzing. Okay? Let's first look at, I do a little bit of both. A little bit of Spain and a little bit of Italy at the same time. Okay? So. Okay, what we see here is, and I can only describe it objectively, Spain is attacking. They are building up and coming in a phase of creating a chance by the cross. Okay? Italy is defending. They are defending the build-up of the opponent and their half. Plus they try to avoid the center. Okay? It's objective or not. It's an open game. I can say something about the team organizations, but I will show you a little bit later. Anyway, look at what happens here. So, if we look at the defending of Italy, goal player coaches, Donnarumma, I made him also the best goal player of the tournament. But it doesn't mean he's doing everything well. But I do this for the specialists who are going to look at the goal player here. Ball moves, he moves. He doesn't move the ball. He only does this. He has no clue. He's no clue. Coaching, no coaching. And if you look at the sheet task of the goal player, it describes exactly what is expected at this moment. But he doesn't know. So, because it's my reference. He doesn't know. So if you don't know, you can't do it. That's why we coaches are so important. In reference is explaining what we expect. And maybe he can't coach because he doesn't have the quality. Or maybe he can't coach because he doesn't have the insight in the game. Or maybe he doesn't dare to coach because he's the youngest player on the pitch. I don't know. There can be many reasons. But we need to know them as coaches. Okay, so what you see is the outside player there of, I don't know if this works, but let me see. This player is going to the ball. Instead of, my reference, this player putting pressure there, because he does this, he comes free. So we can say a lot already defensively for Italy at this moment. Look at this player. Look at this player. Look at this player. So we could use already this moment to analyze it. Okay? I just pointed out to you, okay, that you see hopefully more because of the structure. Okay, that is not happening. You can see place. Because of that wrong decision-making communication, this guy on the side is completely free. Look at the positions. So if we look at the defensive, and the Italians are the best in defense, we know that, but look at their positions. I show you now, it's a very bad cross, a very bad cross. And because it's a bad cross, they get away with it. But look, I show you this as well. What happens if this is a good cross? And everybody will talk about the bad defending of it. But in football, we get away a lot of times with something. Because we score a goal. Because it doesn't happen. But I showed you yesterday in my analysis that we pointed out, if this was our team, then of course we are happy. We are going to score fantastic, blah, 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 blah. But we want to improve. And that's a process. That's a process. Okay, you see what happens? It's a very bad cross. Okay, now, there we go. Now you see the interception, and he is playing the ball. What do you guys think about the goal player at this moment? What do we think about the action, and what do we think about the play of the ball?
In that moment, the goalkeeper is looking for what? The goal player is what they're feeling. How are you? He's looking for movement from his players.
Well, it's actually putting one line out of play, like by stepping up real quick and forcing an action and a reaction to his teammates.
So you think it's good? Okay. So, coaches. Isn't that better? If he plays the ball here, it's a 1v1. Isn't it better if he plays the ball here, he skips 3 lines? What do you think? Okay, I pointed out to you guys, because this is not the best thing. I spoke with him. I asked him, did you see it? No, I didn't see it. Okay? So it's a problem in reading the game and seeing the situations. The first thing I teach all of my goal players, look deep. That's the shortest, try to score. That's the best. If that isn't possible, play the ball and let our players, whatever it is. So it's an intention. He never saw it. He never saw it. And when he saw this, he said, I could have done, other positions if I had seen it. Then it's a question, you see it, can you also execute it? So if he had seen it, and he still took the decision to play the ball short, okay, fine. But he didn't see it, so we cannot even discuss it. Anyway, you can see what happens here. I continue. We focus on the defense of Spain. Okay, you see what happens here. That's a decision in attack. What is the job of the goal player on the moment that this happens? What is his job? Yeah. So prepare what is next if you lose the ball. So he should have a different position. Okay. What is more his job? Pushing up all the defenders. Make the space as small as you can and push it up. Yes or no? I gave this in Italy. The Serie A role player coaches. And you know, we started, we are the best and we don't need these courses anymore and blah, 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 blah. And then I showed them this moment. You cannot discuss this. That's his job. And if that's his job and he doesn't do it, he can improve. Correct? These are facts described by reference. What is his job? What are the responsibilities? And he didn't do it. So, look at what happens here. Can you imagine if they lose the ball now? And they kick the ball in and it's a goal. Everybody will talk, why didn't they push up? Why didn't they take it? They get away with it, guys. We all get away with football with all of these things. Thank God. What we need to know as coaches, wow, this is a goal, it's fantastic, we win the game 1-0, but we still can improve. And that's a process. Compliment, fantastic, well done, great counter, very fast away. But Spain sucks as well. Because look at this. Minutes, okay. Remember yesterday, don't let them go to the inside. That's Spain in defending terribly. He is right-footed. They don't close him up. He can go to the inside, can take the shot. Anyway. So, what I want to show you guys is that's your job as well. Try to describe it objectively. Look, team task, team function. Think about what is the job of the team, what are the principles. Then communication, decision making, execution, position moment. The goal player defending, could be an attacker, could be a defender in this case. And then the only thing you do is this. And then you know exactly what happens. It took me about 5 hours, but okay. If you know how to do it, you can do it very fast. And in your mind, you know exactly what goes and what plays. And this is hopefully a help for you guys, because the next moment, we have the transition moment. And you can see in one moment, we have many other moments that you can describe, that you can analyze, and that you can try to find a solution. Okay, I have a few minutes left, so I go back to the assignment. My suggestion is, seeing this, that we basically, all of us, and you can discuss it together, you heard him say how he wants to build up. Okay, so I would say we focus on attacking-wise, especially the build-up, which means from the goal player to the defense midfield, till the moment the cross, the through ball, or the 1-versus-1 is coming. Okay, so that's the moment, which means attacking, which means building up, till they give the cross or whatever it is. So we're going to look at that. Plus we look at the corners, offensively and defensively. And the goal player coaches, you also make a group, and you are going to look at everything from the goal player. Because you guys are so experienced, I could give you 5 goal players at the same moment. Do you agree with that, or do you want to also point out some other things? Then, sometimes yes, sometimes no. You are sharp. I like it. He's not sharp yet. Very good. But I'm the only one who can make mistakes without giving out a bit, of course. That's the advantage. So, the other thing I want you guys to see is, so that's objective, we try to look at that. Look at the coach behavior. Look at the coach behavior on the side. Is it Jose Mourinho? Is it Pep Guardiola? Is it Jurgen Klopp? Or somebody else? What do you think about the behavior? How does he try to influence the players? Unfortunately, you cannot hear him speak to the team, you cannot hear him speak at halftime and stuff like that. but you can make questions to ask. Assignment clear? I'm looking very much forward to see the outcome tomorrow. Okay? I'm still 1 minute. Yes. Yes, I remember your question.
How do us coaches improve the youth-player communication and decision-making at a young age?
How do you think?
Asking the right questions.
Well, put them into situations where you ask from them communication, where you ask from them decision making. So it depends on what training you prepare, if it's more execution. So we spoke then about the role players. If they do individual, what they do all the time, it's only about execution. But if you have like a game, 3 against 3 with the players, it's execution, but it's also decision making, and it's also communication. Only it's simple. 11 versus 11 is the most difficult there is on the big space. But the moment you take down the amount of players, you make it simpler. And you can even do 4 against 3, or what I did yesterday. You know, building up with like 5, 6 against 4, or whatever you want. So, in the situation, but then you can say, I have more communication, I have more decision making, I have more this. And that depends on what you want to coach. Okay. Any other questions? The last thing I add to the assignment, how can you improve it? So if you guys see things that you say, hey, not good, how would you improve it? Okay, last question.
Why should I use formation within the body like 4-3-3 and then say 1-4-2-3? I shouldn't use social media everywhere else, even on TV. Then you don't put the goalie there as your player in the field.
Goalie, it is a keeper or goalie? Goal player. Well, first of all, if you don't mention him, you play with 10. Nowadays, and we saw it today also with Onana, he played in front of his 2 central defenders. So in attack, he is part of the 2-3, whatever it is. In defense, he should stay behind them. He should. They don't always do it, but he should. So you have a difference in attacking and in defending. So the reason is, you always should mention it. Now you are the goal player. And you don't mention it. A lot of coaches forget about it. They don't even mention it on paper. How would you feel? Bad. Suppose you take out a left winger, and you are a left winger. What will you say at the end to the coach? So why not with the goal player? Did I answer your question? Okay. Listen, you speak to them to start. Then if they cannot give you an answer, I come back. Because, you know, he is the timekeeper. I can say timekeeper because timekeeper, we don't have a time goal player. We have a timekeeper.
Right, thanks again, Frans, for giving a applause. Okay. So just to give you clear, everyone, no one's going to present tomorrow. Thankfully, you're probably wiping some sweat off your brow, but